This is Chicago's very own WGN Evening News at 4.
A political bombshell this afternoon from the Dirksen Federal Building, where prosecutors have indicted former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan. He's charged with racketeering, conspiracy, and bribery relating to a years-long scheme involving Illinois' largest electric utility. ComEd previously admitted to hiring Madigan cronies and confidants, giving them jobs and lucrative contracts to curry favor with Madigan for his support on legislation. But it doesn't end there. Prosecutors accuse Madigan of essentially running a criminal enterprise that existed to enhance his political power and financial well-being. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Bradley.
And I'm Lourdes Duarte. U.S. Attorney John Lausch is going to outline the case against Madigan in a news conference set to begin a little later this hour. We're going to bring it to you live. You can see our crews are set up at this hour. The charges mark a dramatic downfall for the man who once wielded more power in Illinois politics than governors. Yeah, while the FBI has been working the case for years and snaring other lower-level politicians, it wasn't until the summer of 2020 that Madigan's involvement came to light. He has denied wrongdoing.
This is a government that's in grave financial difficulty.
Long known as the Velvet Hammer while ruling the Illinois House, then Speaker Mike Madigan was nailed with a new nickname in 2020.
A high-level state of Illinois elected official identified as Public Official A.
While much of the world was focused on stopping the spread of coronavirus, U.S. Attorney John Lausch told reporters he was on his own mission, rooting out corruption in Illinois.
Lock up Madigan. Lock him up.
In 2 words, it's not good.
In July 2020, a shocking admission. Utility giant ComEd agreed to pay $200 million and admitted to orchestrating a years-long bribery scheme involving contracts and payments to Madigan allies. The man himself wasn't named or charged with any wrongdoing, but documents spelled it out clearly. Public Official A is the Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives.
Public Official A controlled what measures were called for a vote in the Illinois House of Representatives and also exerted substantial influence over fellow lawmakers concerning legislation affecting ComEd.
Madigan's closest confidant, who became a ComEd lobbyist, Michael McLean, is facing charges related to the scheme. McLean is accused of directing ComEd's top officials to hire dozens of people. In each message, McLean made clear the calls were coming from above, someone simply referred to as our friend. McLean and 3 others, including ComEd's former CEO, were indicted in November of 2020, charged with conspiracy, bribery, and falsifying ComEd and Exelon books, records, and accounts. They all pleaded not guilty.
Mr. Speaker, Republicans say they're optimistic. How are you?
Mike Madigan spent 5 decades building a political empire that spread from Chicago's southwest side all the way to Springfield and influenced policy and politics in every corner of the state.
And that's why we need people with intestinal fortitude, dedication, people like you.
A loyal army of political operatives did his bidding both inside the State House and on the campaign trail, many jumping on and off the state payroll to help with political campaigns.
There's a basic rule in Illinois politics. The political party that remains united wins the election.
Clearly he's been doing unethical things. I hope he's been doing something illegal, and I hope he gets prosecuted.
In his private law practice, Madigan made millions, helping the politically connected lower their property tax bills.
We had the ability to lower property taxes on homeowners.
Often appealing to review boards stocked with Democrats that he helped elect. Madigan claimed to have his own personal code of ethics that included a symbolic but solid wall between his law practice and politics.
Our first order of business will be legislation which is already...
But there was never any doubt. There were benefits to being on the Speaker's good side.
$6 million investment.
For a man with so much power, Madigan shied away from the spotlight. He didn't use email, and it was rumored he didn't even carry a cell phone. And only rarely did he speak to the press.
All right, let me avoid creating a headline for tomorrow's newspaper.
Over the years, Madigan escaped several other scandals unscathed. There was patronage hiring at Metra, the Me Too movement toppling some top aides, and countless questions about the strong-arm tactics he used to keep Democrats in power.
I'm not resigning. by moving forward.
Then, in May of 2019, cracks in the Speaker's armor began to show. The feds carried out a slew of raids on some of Madigan's closest political allies.
Sir, can you say who's representing you?
Still, Madigan maintained his innocence and his power.
No, I'm not a target of anything.
But for the first time, some Democrats openly questioned whether Madigan should step down.
That he falls short of what the public expects of elected officials.
If the Speaker cannot commit to that level of transparency, then the time has come for him to resign as Speaker.
A special investigative committee in the State House promised to look into the ComEd scandal and Madigan's role in it, but Democrats pulled the plug.
This is nothing but politics.
The man who killed that investigation is Representative Chris Welch, a Madigan loyalist who would go on to replace his mentor as Speaker. For 38 years, Michael J. Madigan held the Speaker's gavel.
Madigan is still playing coy about an increase in the income tax.
For 50 years, he held his state house seat.
Are you convinced that we need one?
No, but I don't have the job to do it.
Then there's two of us.
Both record-setting runs, finally broken by political and prosecutorial pressure.
You know what? I'm anxious to move out of here and wish all of you a good day.